Hey, welcome to The Big Idea, a time every week where we take a few minutes to wrap our minds around one big idea about life and Jesus. And today, I want to share a little secret with you. It's a little bit personal, but I feel like we're close. So I think I can share this with you and be honest with you. And that it's just this. I really like to look good. Particularly, I really like for people to think that I look good. Now, I don't mean appearance. I think we can all go ahead and agree that at best, I'm not gonna give you a number. That's just not gonna go well. But obviously the appearance thing isn't really my thing. I'm not talking about appearance, I'm talking about approval. Man, I desperately want people's approval. I don't know if you're into the Enneagram, but I sure am. And I am an Enneagram 3, and one of my primary love languages is affirmation. So basically what that means is that if you wanna make my day, come up to me and say, hey, Zach, you did a great job with the big idea. And if you wanna ruin my life, come up to me and say, hey, Zach, you're bad at your job. I desperately want people to think that I'm good at what I do, that I'm a good person, a good friend. I want that. And today I want to talk to you about a culture that has the exact same value that I do. And that culture is religious culture. Now, religious culture has one main value, and that value is approval. The bottom line of religious culture is get approval. Do things that get you approval. And so religious culture has a lot of rules, it has a lot of traditions, it has a lot of things that people can follow in order to get approval. And now for somebody like me, that's great, right? Because if I desperately want people to give me their approval, having a culture that sets up all sorts of rules, all sorts of traditions, all sorts of expectations, it just means that if I can follow those rules, if I can keep those traditions, if I can meet those expectations, I'm guaranteed approval. Approval by God, approval by other people, approval by the people around me. It's a great opportunity for somebody like me. And I know for some of you all, you've had the exact same experience with religious culture. It's an opportunity for you to get that approval that you so desperately want. But of course, I know for others of you, your experience hasn't been so good. Because maybe you're not quite as good at following the rules, or you don't meet the expectations in the same way. Or maybe you just think the rules and traditions and expectations are stupid and say, I don't want to do that. No. And so instead of receiving approval, you're met with disapproval. Religious culture is all around us, and all of us are interacting with it every day. The question that I have to ask, though, is religious culture shaping us to be more like Jesus or less like Jesus? And that may seem like a weird question to ask, right? Because on the surface, it would seem like we would have to say that, well, Jesus seems to be a pretty religious guy, right? Like obviously religious culture should be shaping us to be more like Jesus, right? I'll tell you a story and see if maybe it might change your mind. This is a story about Jesus. And see, in Jesus' day, there were these people called the Pharisees, and they were the embodiment of religious culture. The Pharisees were the ones in charge of the temple. They were the ones in charge of telling the people how to live their life in such a way that would be honoring and pleasing to God. The Pharisees were peak religious culture, but Jesus and the Pharisees did not get along. See, in this passage in Matthew chapter 23, we see Jesus giving a critique of the Pharisees. And here's kind of what he said. He was talking to his followers, these people who wanted to be more like Jesus. And he said, hey, you should listen to what the Pharisees have to say because they are in a position of authority. But man, don't do what they do. It was kind of like a do what they say, but not what they do situation. Because Jesus went on to tell them what exactly the Pharisees were doing. He said, man, they're not interested at all in helping people get closer to God. They're way more interested in making people think that they look really good. See, they put on this huge religious show. They pray these really long prayers. They put themselves in the places of honor. They make sure that when they go out in public, people look at them and say, man, that's a religious person. That's a holy person. But they don't have any interest in helping people actually get closer to God. Instead, they make up all these rules that only they can follow so that other people would say, man, they're great. They're so close to God, and I am so far away. And he said, that's just not how we're supposed to do things. That's not how things go in my kingdom. Instead, Jesus gave his followers a vision for what life in his kingdom should look like. That it should be not about getting honor for yourself, but giving worship to God. Not about getting approval for yourself, but giving glory to God. And Jesus called his followers to pursue kingdom culture over religious culture, to pursue worshiping God instead of giving glory and honor to themselves. He called them to pursue kingdom over religion because he called them to pursue kingdom over everything. And that's the big idea.